began my working life in the Midwest. I went to high school in Iowa. And my father told me, he said, John, if you don't knuckle down to your studying, you know, you're going to end up living on the other side of the tracks and working in one of those factories over there. Well, when I graduated from high school, I proved to my father that he was absolutely right. I ended up renting a house on the other side of the tracks and working in one of those factories over there. Waterloo, Iowa was an industrial town, home of John Deere tractors, lots of factories. The first factory job I had was working at the Waterloo Register Company, and the Waterloo Register Company made heat and ventilation registers. And my first day on the job, they led me to a big room they called the press room. And it's not where you iron people's pants, but it was a room full of these gargantuan machines that went up to the ceiling. And they set me down on a stool, and on one side of me was a bin full of pieces of metal. And I put them in this machine, and this big, huge, bigger piece of metal came down and ka-choom! And I bend that piece of metal into a shape that I would put into another bin. And those pieces of metal would go off to fit into God's almighty plan for the heat and ventilation register. So I'm going at this machine all day long. Chunk, 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 chunk. And this rhythm would go through my head. I was just like on the floor 4 hours, and then half an hour break for lunch, and 4 hours more, and I go home. Chunk, chunk, chunk. And the rhythm just start going. I'd be bored to death, so I'd start making up songs. Worked in a factory all of my life, and I ain't got nothing but a Barlow knife. And that's how I became a songwriter. It's also why all my songs are in the same time signature. Started work in '63 at the register factory. Put me on a stool on the press room floor to run this machine forevermore. Chunk, chunk all day long. Chunk, chunk was my song. If you think your life is a bore, you never been on the press room floor. 500 pieces every hour. The foreman says, boy, you'll go far. If you can make it 6:02, another machine's awaiting for you. And it goes chunk, chunk all day long. Chunk, chunk was my song. If you think your life is a bore, you never been on the press room floor. Oh, the days went by so slow it seems. Night, the press room filled my dreams. I got a vacation once a year, but even at the beach this sound I'd hear. Chunk, chunk all day long. Chunk, chunk was my song. If you think your life is a bore, you never been on the press room floor. I married a machine that cannot feel. My kids were little pieces of steel. The foreman must have been their grandpa, 'cause when the bin filled up, he said, ah. Chunk, chunk all day long. Chunk, chunk was my song. If you think your life is a bore, you never been on the press room floor. Now times have changed, machines have too. One day they said that's all for you. Modernization is where it's at. There'll be a computer where you once sat. Chunk, chunk, no more for me. I'll sit at home, I'll watch TV. Collect unemployment for a while, then I'll get me a job that has some style. So I retrained in '83. No more press room, not for me. I wear a white shirt and my hands are clean. They put me in front of a TV screen. Oop beep on all day long. Beep, boop, beep is my song. If you think your life is a bore, you've never been on the high-tech floor. Beep, boop, beep all day long. Beep, boop, beep is my song. If you think your life is a bore, you've never been on the high-tech floor. And yes, my work is still a bore, and I get paid less than ever before. That same factory town, Waterloo, was the home of also Rath Packing Company, Rath Meats. Is anybody old enough to remember Rath Meats? Or maybe you're too Eastern, maybe that's more Mid-East, Midwestern. Anyway, the Midwest was full of meat packing companies like Rath and Hormel and Morel, and it was the job at Rath Packing Company, as the job was at John Deere's, a coveted job because it paid really well, because it was unionized. Yeah. And they fought for that union, the meat packers fought for that union over the years. They were part of the CIO. And then they became the Amalgamated Meat Cutters and Butcher Workmen of North America, which is the first union I ever joined. And you know, in the 80s, the companies started breaking the unions. And I don't know if people probably remember, there was a big struggle in the Midwest against the Hormel Company in, what's the name of the town? It was in Minnesota. And they eventually, they broke that union, and they broke a bunch of other unions. I was working with a singing group called Shays Rebellion, and we sang for a few strikes in the meatpacking industry. And I learned a little bit about something called carpal tunnel when I was doing that work, because the more they sped up the line, the more incidents of carpal tunnel would happen to meat packers, meat cutters. It was one of the most dangerous jobs there were in the meatpacking industry, outside of the job of mining, of course, and because of the blades and because of these afflictions like carpal tunnel. And you know, it's something that hits a lot of people. Musicians get carpal tunnel, you know. We know of contracts we've tried to bargain where we have longer breaks, because, you know, if you practice too long without getting a break, you can, you know, repetitive motion, you can get carpal tunnel, which is why I try not to practice too much. I'll get carpal tunnel. Anyway, this is a song about carpal tunnel. It's the only song I know about carpal tunnel in the meatpacking industry. Early in the morning, at the start of the day, I force my fingers round the handle of the blade, starting to cut just as fast as I can. By the end of the day, I can hardly move my hands. I got that old carpal tunnel and my hands won't move. The foreman tells me to stay in the groove. You cut that cattle as fast as I do, you'll get that carpal tunnel too. 10 years ago, I started in the kill. Now 10 years later, well, I got my fill. Well, they keep on cutting, though the line's twice as fast. Well, I don't know how long these arms will last. I got that old carpal tunnel and my hands won't move. The foreman tells me to stay in the groove. You cut that cattle as fast as I do, you get that carpal tunnel too. Work with a knife and a blade in my hands. I cut them cows with a big iron band, but it feels like a knife is cutting me all the time, because the carpal tunnel lives in the big nerve line. I got that old carpal tunnel and my hands won't move. The foreman tells me to stay in the groove. You cut that cattle as fast as I do, you get that carpal tunnel too. Now there ain't 5 minutes that passes a man that he don't feel the carpal tunnel deep in his hands. He feels it in his fingers and his wrists all the time. It's the curse of the speed up on the carcass line. I got that old carpal tunnel, my hands won't move. The foreman tells me to stay in the groove. You cut that cattle as fast as I do, you get that carpal tunnel too. Well, I'll go in for an operation once more, but I'll come right back to the killing floor. I'll tell them, darling children of mine, don't you ever go to work on the packing house line. I got that old carpal tunnel and my hands won't move. The foreman tells me to stay in the groove. You cut that cattle as fast as I do, you get that carpal tunnel too. Oh, the foreman tells me to stay in the groove. I got that old carpal tunnel and my hands won't move. Come back and join me, would you?
Okay.